Hello, my friends. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another Tough Love Tuesday. For those of you coming in on the replay, I appreciate you. How's everybody doing? Today, we are going to talk about boundaries because I think they need a rehash on a fairly regular basis. Boundaries, so hard. They're so hard. But I think the whole term of boundaries is being overused in a way that it was never meant for. I honestly feel like a lot of people don't understand what having boundaries is all about. Yeah, no Ziggy today, Brandy. He's in his other spot, unfortunately. Boundaries are difficult and they have to be put in place for the right reason. And this is where I think some people misunderstand. And by some people, I mean me. I always misunderstood boundaries until very recently. I always thought that I put boundaries in place for other people. Don't you dare cross my boundaries. That's not what boundaries are for. Boundaries are for you. They're for you to protect yourself, not to make other people do what you want them to do. Okay? And there's a very fine line there. There's a very fine line. But we need to make sure we're standing on the right side of that line. Because when you put boundaries in place, you cannot use them to control other people. That's not what they're there for. For instance, having a boundary of, let's say I go to a family reunion and I'm not hugging anybody. This is a complete hypothetical because we're all very touchy-feely Newfoundlanders. But let's say, or let me use little Ben as an example, because his parents have made sure that he understands he's allowed to have the boundary of not hugging people that he doesn't want to hug. Now, he doesn't hug me. You guys have heard me say this before. He'll hug mom, but he doesn't hug me for whatever reason, and I'm okay with that because that is his boundary. And I would prefer that he hold to that boundary than to put it aside to please me. Okay? Do not want that child growing up to be a people pleaser, and neither do his parents, hence the boundaries. See what I mean? The boundary is there for him. It's also there so that he understands that if somebody tries to cross that boundary, he is allowed to speak up and say no. So for instance, if I asked him for a hug and he said, no, I don't want to hug you today, and then I grabbed him and hugged him anyway, he is then allowed to say to me, stop, I said no, without the repercussions. It's the same as, for instance, when we're in a group of people, Ben, can I have a hug? And he's like, no. And somebody says to him, oh, you're being a big meanie, you're making your auntie feel bad. And of course, Ben is all like, what? And so it was up to me to help him keep his boundary by telling that person, no, that's his boundary. He doesn't have to hug me if he doesn't want to, right? Because he's only 4. So sometimes he needs help. But that boundary is not put there to control me. And using a child as an example is really good here because kids don't understand that. They understand that the boundary is there to protect them, right? Ben's not trying to control me with his boundary. It's there to make him comfortable and make him understand that he is allowed as much room for his body as he wants, that he can give affection as he sees fit, or the type of affection, because he shows me affection in other ways, right? Just not physically. And it's all good. But you're right, Brandy. Kids should never have to hug anyone. I grew up with very much of being forced to hug people. and being forced to sit in people's laps and this sort of thing. And that just reinforces the people pleaser, right? But when you put that boundary in place, it needs to be to protect your mental health, mostly to protect your mental health. For instance, I have a boundary of I don't drink alcohol. And my boundary is that I should never have to tell somebody that more than once. Okay. I don't drink not because I'm an addict, but because I don't like what it does to my body. I don't like what it does to my brain. And for somebody if I say no, thank you. Somebody says, "Do you want a beer?" No, thank you. I don't drink. And then they'll come back with, "Oh, you're such a party pooper." That's crossing my boundary because it's now making me uncomfortable. Okay. I'm not trying to control that person. I'm trying to control myself because now I'm uncomfortable. Now I'm feeling like people are looking at me. Now I'm feeling like maybe I should have the beer just to shut them up and pay for it later. That's a boundary crossed. That's when I can say, "Look, I already said no." And you're right, Kay, no is a complete sentence. But I will, in a situation like that, because I'm a whole adult, and I used to drink wine, like, I didn't never liked beer, but I would always have a glass of wine if somebody offered it to me and I wasn't driving. But so now I will say, "No, thank you. I don't drink anymore." Most people that I'm with, no, great. She said, "No, I'm not going to push it." I've yet to have somebody push it. But as I had posted on Facebook there, about the about the consent thing, about it not just being about sex, about it being, around anything. If I have to tell you no more than once, then we will have a problem because now you're making me uncomfortable. I would never put a boundary in place of something just to make somebody feel bad. You know, I can't even think of an example of something that, well, let's see. My ex, she had a boundary of if she was sitting on the bed reading, I wasn't allowed in the bedroom. Boundary. That wasn't a boundary. That was a way to control me. Because if I went into the bedroom, even if I needed to go into the bedroom, then there was a fight. Okay. And I am so with you on the pregnant thing. Don't be touching pregnant women's bellies unless they offer. Don't even ask because it's a very uncomfortable situation for most pregnant people. Yeah. I wasn't big on people. Baby wasn't big on people touching my belly. So, I'm the one who had to get all that kicking from the inside. But here's the thing. You are entitled to your boundaries. Absolutely, without question, with the caveat that you're not putting them in place to try to control other people's behavior. They're put there to protect you, and that is it. You can't control other people. You shouldn't control other people. What other people think is none of your business. You need to keep it in here, okay? You need to keep it in here. These are your boundaries, not theirs. If they cross it, then you need to address it. And for some people, it's hard for them to honor your boundaries. Okay? I go through that. It's hard for mom sometimes to honor my boundaries. And I have to remind her. And then she'll do great for a while and then she'll forget. And then I have to remind her again. And that's because she's 80 years old. Right? And she's worse than me with a brain like Swiss cheese. And that's okay. That's okay. It's when there's a line that I can tell. There's a line I can tell between forgot and just don't care. And if you're the type of person who has to set boundaries with the people around you, then you're going to know what is I've forgotten, or I just need a gentle reminder, or maybe a not so gentle reminder, and I don't care. You're going to know. But I encourage you to take a step back when somebody violates a boundary and assess that. Assess that. Have they forgotten? Because it's been 6 months, it's been 5 weeks, it's been, that long since they pushed that boundary or they crossed that boundary that they need a reminder, or are they just being a big jerk? You're gonna know. You're gonna know. But you have to not just, it shouldn't be a knee-jerk reaction. It should not. Because first of all, knee-jerk reactions are not good for you. Heck with them. Knee-jerk reactions are not good for you. If you flip immediately to irritation, your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up, everything, you go into fight mode, that's not going to get you anywhere. And then it'll take you 20 minutes or an hour or more to scrape yourself off the ceiling, right? If you're anything like me. So try to keep yourself from that knee-jerk reaction. That is my big challenge to you. Not so much about putting the boundaries in place, but to not have that knee-jerk reaction when somebody crosses your boundary. Stop, take a deep breath, assess. Do they need a reminder, or do they need to be set on fire? You know what I mean? Like verbally, like, do I need to be gentle, or do I need to steamroll them right now? Assess, be honest, because again, when your boundaries are crossed, it tends to tick you off. And the first thing you want to do is raise your voice. I encourage you not to do that. I encourage you not to do that even if they do need to be steamrolled. Right? Because then it can't come back on you that you're trying to pick a fight by raising your voice. Left-handed anger. Yes, Kay. Yes, yes. Here's the thing. Cammie. See, he's 10. He's 10. So it's your brother that needs to be, or your sister-in-law that needs to be taking this in hand, because he's 10. He's in these formative years, and this is the time to nip it in the bud. Because if he grows up thinking that he can get away with that, when he's 18, what is he thinking? What else is he going to think he's going to get away with? Right? And I wouldn't leave it alone. If he won't answer you, if your brother won't answer you, I would keep on him until you get an answer. And chances are you're not going to get the one you want. You may have to take it into your own hands. You may have to take it into your own hands if the child is doing that to you. But that is a dangerous, dangerous path for that child to be walking. But he's only 10 and not 100% responsible for his actions because he's not being taught. He's not being taught properly. So if his parents aren't willing to do it, you may have to take it in hand if you don't want it done to you, because that's your boundary. And if he's going to cross that boundary and his parents aren't going to do anything about it, then you need to do something about it. You just take him by the shoulders and say, he's not allowed to touch you again, and step away. It's a hard thing when the kids are that age and their parents won't do anything about it. I feel so sorry for that child. I really do, because there's no such thing as a bad kid. There's no such thing as a bad kid. Just ill-educated, poorly informed parents. Some of us just get quiet, and that's dangerous. I agree. It's that like simmering anger. But here's the thing. Again, Kay, I encourage you to not get angry. Stand up for yourself. Absolutely. But do it in such a way that the person can't say you're being over the top, that, you're being dramatic or whatever. And then, here's the thing. You are allowed to cut these people out of your life. If they continue to violate your boundaries, you have done the gentle reminders, you have not had the knee-jerk reaction, you've spoken to them about it, and they still will not respect your boundaries, you can be done with them. You're allowed to do that. I grew up very much hearing constantly, blood is thicker than water. Family is everything. Blood is thicker than water. You know what? Well, first of all, we all know, thanks to the internet, that saying, blood is thicker than water, is a bastardized version of what the actual quote from the Bible is. It's the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Exactly, Kay. Found family. The covenant is your found family. You are allowed to cut people from your life. It doesn't matter if it's your parents. It doesn't matter if it's your, God forbid, children, your best friend that you've been best friends with for 30 years. If they're just making you feel terrible about yourself and they're crossing those boundaries, you are allowed to cut them from your life. That's a boundary. I'm sorry, you don't get to be in my life anymore. And you know what? Warn them. If they're constantly crossing that boundary and you've done all the things that you're supposed to do, and they're still crossing the boundaries, one last warning. We've talked about this. If you do it again, I'm done with you. I will cut you from my life. And then if they do it again, stick to your guns. That's the hard part, is the sticking to your guns. I got to come up with a better saying because that's just bad. I apologize for that. Toxic behavior is not allowed at my door. Absolutely, Brandy. Absolutely. Just do not say you're going to do the thing and then don't do the thing. But that's a whole nother talk for a whole nother day. So I absolutely, this is going to be hard, you guys. No knee-jerk reactions. Put those boundaries in place. And when somebody crosses them, I want you to take a deep breath to quell that irritation and assess. Do I need to be gentle, or do I need to rip their head off and play basketball with it? Okay? That's your challenge for this week. I would love to hear how you're doing with this. Come back, leave comments down below. I would love, love, love to hear how you're doing. It's a hard one I'm giving you. It's a hard one, but I know you can do it. And I will see you guys next Tuesday. Love you to bits.